Well, on this episode of Tin Shed TV, we finally finished the donk of that motor project that we were going to do. So what we have here, you've probably seen at the top, this is basically an L67 Ecotech standard naturally aspirated V6, and you're probably wondering why I have this. So what we're going to do today is do a video on how to do a top swap, and we're going to take all the L67 top end and good stuff and pop it on to the bottom end of this L36, which I've been told is working fine. I've seen a video of it. It wasn't a crash where it damaged the front sump. Picked it up for only $100. It's we're going to do a couple of compression tests on it first to see how good it is. But I did get the bore scope this time and have a look at it, and there is no oil inside. There is no bad deposits inside. So far it's looking all right. I'm just a bit concerned on the compression, but we can have a look at that once we get it out. So I wanted to do a compression test on it, but unfortunately there wasn't an ability to. So what we'll do, we'll start getting it out, stripping it down, having a look inside, because all we're interested in is the bottom end on this one, and then we'll start doing the stripping down on the other L67 to see what damage was in that one, and the reason why we're doing the top swap, and the benefits of the top swap. And then bolt it back together and send it in the VT. Alrighty-o. So, what we're going to have to do, we're going to start stripping all this down while it's on the floor. And then that will allow us to see what problems there are on that one. And then we'll take the sump of that off. We'll put it on this one because as before, this was in a crash, and what's happened is the sway bar has pushed up into the sump. So if you ever wanted an oil return for your turbo kit, there's one there. But I have been told the motor was turned off, hasn't been turned over since. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I think it's a whole gamble, but $100, I'll give it a shot. Well, she's a bit dirty, but if it's never been maintained, then it's not too bad. Just your normal carbon, a bit of PCV valve crap, but that's not too bad. So keep going down, see what we find. All right, got my gloves on today because this engine is pretty dirty, but take the top off, take it down to the valley, clean out the front end, and then we'll take that sump off, clean it out, and put it on here, throw some crappy oil in there, do a compression test. If it works, sweet, we'll continue with the project. That's pulled apart so far. So some of you guys might be new to the L67 scene and want to know what is the difference between the naturally aspirated Ecotech L36 and the supercharged variant of the L67. So things that you can see on the outside will be, one, no supercharger, obviously, that's the first thing. Now the other thing you'll notice is the injectors are completely different. So they're a smaller injector, 26 or 24 pound, I can't remember. And these little white ones here are 36 pound injectors. So more fuel required for that thing. The other things you can see on the engine, on the outside, Ecotech's naturally aspirated engines, they come with an EGR, an exhaust gas recirculation system. So you won't have this on an L67, so it obviously recycles the gases to heat the engine up. That's a hot box and will heat up itself. And instead on an L67 you won't have that, you'll have a boost solenoid that sits around here, and that stops the diaphragm opening and closing on this, so you can restrict the amount of boost it makes. Even though it only makes 6 pounds, Holden didn't want you to make a shitload of boost going in reverse. Now, and the other thing you'll notice is the injectors sit here. Both engines are port injections. Don't let anyone tell you one's a direct injection. They're both port injection. Direct injection is the injector directly inside the actual chamber. Both are on top of the valve. So the injector will obviously sit a little bit further up in the runner, and then sits there. On the L67, they're actually tapped directly into the cylinder head itself. So Ecotech's L36 ones are basically, they're exactly the same head, dimensions and everything, exactly the same head bolts. It's just that the L67s have actually had theirs drilled into the actual head itself, and therefore they require a different rocker cover, gasket, and cover. So you can see they're actually molded differently, and this one's straight. So that's on the outside. Coolant passages are different. They come out the front on an Ecotech, they come out the rear on an L67, and they loop around the back and come out over here on this little pipe. So that's the outside differences. And the belt path and pulley system, you'll have a different pulley here, and the actual stand itself that sits behind it is different. It's actually offsetted on a different position. So if you ever do an L67 swap, make sure you swap the entire thing, not just the pulley, the entire mount and everything that sits behind it, which we will do, because they're actually a different offset. So we'll do that later on. That's on the outside. We'll talk about the inside when we get to the inside. And then, yeah, the ignition plate sits diagonal, where this one sits upwards. So we'll continue tearing down. I'll rip that off. I'll see what it looks like inside, and hopefully it's not too bad. See what prizes I have won. I'm a sugar. I can actually give this a quick clean first. God damn it, I just vacuumed this floor. Alright, so. Not too bad. I've seen worse. Definitely no sludge, it's just here's the film. So it's definitely done its job. Coolant passage has been dry for a while. I've got a couple of bugs in there. Alright, so I've taken some bits off. That allows me to get to all the sump bolts that are under there, except the only one I can't get to at the moment will be that one right up behind the harmonic balancer there. So anyway, it's got to come off anyway, but we'll take her off, which is obviously different to the Ecotech because it's got a supercharger belt system on it, and we'll put on the other one. So if this was in a car, what you can do is, to break that bolt seal, you crank the starter motor with that resting against the K-frame, and then that will undo the bolt. We don't have a starter motor, or it's in the car, so I gotta do it the old-fashioned way. So wedge that against the flywheel and the stand, and against that. I rest against that. I rest against that, and and I snap my screwdriver. Ah. I've come back with big boy. That won't break. Let's try this again. Wedge you in there. Wedge you in there. Oh, fuck me. I need a second person. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't fall off the stand. Oh. Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Alright.
I've lost a nut. Oh, the spring washer. One of my clamps. Tighten that up. Hey. Now take it off to the 3-jaw puller. Make sure you use that rib. Alright. Allow me to get to that bolt there. Come on, come on, come on. Sweating a ball fest in this shed today. Alright, all your sump bolts are free. 3/8. So, where's my 3/8? There it is. Couple of places you can break the seal. On both sides there's these little tabs that stick out. Obviously it didn't have that much terms of sealant, hence why it's probably an oily piece of crap. But anyway, those tabs are a place to undo it. Alright. Yeah. So what prizes do we have in here? We got a, can we see, put that in there? Yeah, so we got some big piece of metal, probably a bit of ringland, more pieces of metal, what else we got in there? Bit of crap down there. So, I don't know, I give it a wash, give it a clean, and then we'll transfer across the other motor. Alright, before you call the EPA on me, this drain itself goes for a sedimentary sand pit anyway, so it ain't going into any storm water or anything like that. Alright, I've got heavy duty greaser. Really get a parts washer. That's disgusting. Alright, don't tell my wife. Hey guys, hope you've been liking the videos we've been making, and make sure you go over, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to be notified with when we drop new content weekly, fortnightly, or when we ever can. And make sure you go back and check any of our old videos that you've missed. Any new to the scene, you'll be able to get notified when we drop live streams and other content. 80% of you aren't subscribed, so make sure you go over and do that now. Alright, now the other sump is in the wash, I'll get this sump off and get ready to put the new one on, fill with some oil, throw a starter on there, do a compression test. If she compresses and she's good, sweet, we'll continue on. If not, I'm not going to bother with it and move on to a different bottom end. Oh, she a nice big hole, doesn't she? Jesus. Alright, this is going to fall down here in the foot. Clear the feet. Clear. Good. So you might have seen this one looks a bit different. That's because they are. So in the VY, the sumps came out with our cast transmission support. Also, the opening is much larger. So, unsure. It doesn't have as much ballast in there to stop the oil moving around. Don't know why holding it up, but in their new design, they have put the transmission and they had about 500 milliliters more oil capacity in the VY. So you can see the difference from that one, and I'll put the picture of the other one up there. But yeah, that's the difference between a VTBX sump and a VY. I'm pretty sure the VS sump was very similar to the VTBX, it just had a different oil drain bung. Anyway, that goes in the bin because that's useless. Jumping under to have a look. Doesn't look too bad in there. Everything's still got a coating of oil. The con rod bolts still have a droplet of oil on it, so which means it hasn't been moving without oil in it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. They could have come back later on, who knows? But it actually doesn't look too bad in there. Can't see sunlight up the top, which is good. Oil drain pickup doesn't have any crap in it. So we'll just clean up all those surfaces now. And I'll throw in some goo, throw up the pan, and away we go again. Alright, now that we've cleaned our sump bolts up from all the shit and grime, we'll go and get the other sump, goo it up, and shove it up there. Alright, so there's the difference between the two sumps. So you can see the VY sump, much larger opening, no internal ribbing, compared to the VTBX VS sump. And they're a little bit larger, so it protrudes it like a little bit more at the front. Apparently gives it like half a litre more oil capacity, or 400 ml. So that's what the dishwasher did. Not too bad. So I'll just clean up those surfaces, throw some goo on it, and pop it on. Just a nice little smear around the side. And as well, make sure you smear just in your corners of your rear main and your front timing cover gasket corners, because that's where it leaks out through. So in the VYs, I've got this little clip here to help support the sump as it's getting installed, but it's getting in the way, so I gotta take it off. Alright, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do it anyway. But what you do is, once you've got all your bolts in, you torque them down from the inside out. I'll put the torque setting on the string because I can't figure it out in my head right now. And then tie them all up from inside out, right out like a head. And then From there on, I'll let it sit, dry, and then I'll throw some oil in it. So it's the next day. I've let the goo dry overnight, and what we're going to do now is start throwing some oil into it. So because it had no oil in it, I want to make sure the bearing's fully lubricated before we even crank it for the first time. So what I've done is I've removed the oil pressure switch, and just shoved in like a 3/8 barb, and using a pump, we're just going to pump just some mineral 1540 cheap oil into it. That will lubricate it whilst we do the compression testing, and then if all goes well, sweet, we'll continue on with the build. Got to lube it up, go lube it up. Got to lube it up, go lube it up. Got to lube it up, go lube it up. This is nice and thin and easier. You can see the oil starting to come up through the lifters there. Nice and bloop. So it's definitely getting up in the passages where it needs to go, which is good. Lube up those lifters. Now there is another spot for pressurizing oil. You can come through there, but behind the, let me get a zoom in there. Yeah, so behind the power steering bracket, you see this little grub screw there? So that's a 1/4 inch fitting on a grub screw. So that's an actual same area pressurized oil side feed. You can, if you ever have a turbo, that's where you plug in for your turbo oil feed, and then you can grab pressure off there. Lip, 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 lip. Oh shit, I've already started making a mess. That was annoying. There was crud stuck in the thread. Anyway, I'll go get a battery, hook it up, and go get my compression tester. Alright, so with the starter hooked up and a trigger ready, let's crank it over and see what our compressions are like. Alright. So cylinder number 1. This starter's cooked. Let's off the other one. See if I can release it with a bit of love. No love. Okay. Alright. Turns out my my trigger wire was too thin. So tasty. So cylinder 1, 60 psi, it's in the red. Cylinder 2, 40 psi. And we're not looking good at the moment. Sorry, cylinder, not 2, cylinder 3. Yeah, about 80 psi, so yeah, not looking fabulous. Now, what we can do, this trick to see if it's the cylinder side or it's the head side, we can throw some oil, some liquid in there, some oil. It will seal the actual compression ring a little bit better. If the pressure goes up when we do that, then we know it's the compression ring in the bottom end that's rooted, and not the head. If it stays the same, then we know the valve up here is losing the compression. I'm not down here, so we'll go and do that, and we'll see if anything changes. Use the last of whatever this Tom Thumb pump. Alright, let's try this again. There we go, there's our pressure. So yes, the compression rings in this bottom end are screwed. So once again, Facebook Marketplace. I knew it was going to be a 50-50 gamble. Anyone want some Ecotech parts? I have them. I only need $100. Come get them. Anything you need. Manifolds, top ends, let me know. Who would want to see a bottom end rebuild video? Put your hands up. I'd like to know if anyone wants to see a bottom end rebuild video. So, it's a possibility. Not that hard to redo these things. But yeah, bottom end's cactus, no point going any further. All it cost me was $100. Yeah. Things you can do to test your engine. Get a bore scope, get a compression tester, and take a battery with you. Unfortunately, it had no sump, so I wasn't really game to test it. Might drain the oil and keep it for the next one. Alright people, I'll see you next time. Oh, by the way, we have some stuff coming up shortly on Magnaro. Finalising dyno win. Sweaty ass fingers, sweaty ass this, sweaty ass that. So sweating like that. Whoa.